Welcome back. There we go.
Thanks everyone for hanging out and waiting. That was we don't usually do that, but that was cool. And we have a special guest. We have Gretchen Gruender from Fred Hutch with us. Gretchen, good morning.
Good morning.
And you also work for their Cook for Your Life program. We're going to get into all of this and what all of it means.
Yeah.
You are a registered dietitian, correct? There's a lot of letters after your name. So
keeping it confusing.
Yeah, explain a little bit about what you do, what your credentials are, what all the...
Yeah, MSRDN CSO.
What do all of these mean?
Yeah, so our MS is just Master of Science in Nutrition.
Okay.
That's straightforward. RDN is Registered Dietitian Nutritionist.
Okay.
A little while ago, we used to be just registered dietitians. Now we added nutritionist to that. Okay. That's a whole thing. And then CSO is a board certified specialist in oncology nutrition.
Ooh.
A lot of letters.
Okay.
Yeah.
But what that really means is you're the smartest person we've ever had on the show. So thank you. Thank you for slumming it with us a little bit.
Okay. So for people who maybe aren't even from Washington that are watching the show and have never heard of Fred Hutch, explain a little bit about what Fred Hutch is and does.
Yeah, so Fred Hutch Cancer Center is a comprehensive cancer center here in Seattle. They have both a clinical arm to treat patients, and they also have a research portion to that. Yes,
and then the Cook for Your Life program is a part of Fred Hutch.
Yes.
And so explain that, because I know we really want to talk about that today and how
they both tie together, basically.
Yes, and how everyone can access it. And we do have
we do have two prompts, by the way. If you are in the chat, and if you're watching this on YouTube later, they'll be in the description of the YouTube video. But right now, if you're alive in the chat with us, !Fred will take you to the Fred Hutch website. !Cook will take you to the Cook for Your Life website. And I was going through it last night. There is so much information. And one of the things I loved, and we're going to kind of go in reverse order for a second. One of the things I loved about the Cook for Your Life site is you can build your diet essentially based on your needs. So like I was able to go to high protein. And like the second option up there was falafel balls, which I have to run them by my aunt, because my Aunt Gladys is our Lebanese like super chef. So I need to make sure that the recipe works for her.
I'm sure she has a less healthy recipe version of them, but yes. But yeah, Cook for Your Life. Explain other than falafel balls what it is.
Yeah, so Cook for Your Life actually started, it was started back in New York by a woman named Anne Ogden Gaffney, who's a 3-time cancer survivor.
Wow.
And she left sort of the industry that she worked in, which was actually fashion, and said, I need to make cooking something that's accessible to everyone going through cancer treatment. And so she started this website, and then she ended up meeting Heather Greenlee, who is a doctor and a researcher at Fred Hutch. And they actually worked together when Dr. Greenlee was at Columbia, and they started doing some diet and lifestyle interventions with cancer survivors. And Dr. Greenlee has since moved to Fred Hutch, and in 2019, Fred Hutch acquired Cook for Your Life website. And so now they're doing all kinds of cool things with it.
So if you have someone who's going through cancer treatments or has been diagnosed with cancer, you sit with them and say, okay, let's make a meal plan that makes sense for you through this website. Like, how does that process work?
Yeah. So it is right now, Cook for Your Life is, it can be used. So I'm working with Cook for Your Life in more of an advisory type of a position. I used to be over at the clinical arm seeing patients, and I'm not doing that right now. But if someone were like an oncology dietitian at one of the cancer centers wanted to, yes, they could refer someone to that website and say, okay, if you need to eat a low fiber diet right now, and we really want you to eat sort of smaller meals, they would be able to do that, put that together.
Does the diet, and obviously we're going to get to how even if you're not dealing with cancer right now in your life, this is still a very valuable website, but when you are dealing with cancer patients, how much of the diet is dependent on the specific type of cancer that they are dealing with, or is there one kind of plan that can work for a lot of cancer patients?
Yeah, that's a really good question. So there are so many different types of cancers, and so you almost have to treat it like that.
Okay.
So and then it depends on how they eat, depends on the type of cancer they have, and then the treatment that they're in. So it can be really different from one person to the next.
We just got a message from Tacoma Swifty who said, this is a great resource. I'm going through a cancer journey with both parents, and it's pretty limited with the nutrition side of resources. So, Jess,
fantastic.
That's awesome.
Yay.
And what's great about Cook for Your Life specifically is it's coming from a place of actual authority and research. Because one of the things we've talked about off the air was we're in this great time in life where or in civilization where there's so much information and it's so easy to access, but there's a negative side to that.
Yes.
Sometimes there's a little too much information and anyone can put whatever they want on the internet. So these plans and these recipes are coming from a place where you guys have done the research and you've seen it in clinical, and you can now take that information and say, well, the general population can also benefit from this.
And that was something that everyone, including us when we originally spoke to you, but a lot of the people in our chat the other day wanted to know, how do we decipher in this world of TikToks and Instagram reels of do this to whatever? How do we decipher what's real and what isn't?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And I know there's probably not just a one way to do that, but that is the question that everyone keeps asking.
Yeah, how do we figure out which research, like papers, we can trust and which ones Big Milk paid for or whoever? I don't know, like big whoever.
Yeah, I'm not sure if there is a really good answer to that, except to say that like one thing that we really encourage as both dietitians as well as on Cook for Your Life is eating just real food, like eating unprocessed fruits, vegetables, whole grains, legumes, all of that stuff. And if you're reading something that tells you like this is the perfect food, I would take that with a grain of salt. Or if it's telling you to just, wake up and have, like a very restricted diet, like take that with a grain of salt.
It's kind of one of the things that is so fascinating about health, fitness, all of that stuff is really, if you just try to find the simplest answer, sometimes that is the right answer. It's like eat real food. Yeah. If you have 8,000 ingredients on this healthy snack, well, maybe it's not actually as healthy as it's claiming to be. Are there specific ingredients with processed food or ultra processed food that you would suggest people stay away from?
Yeah. It's great you brought up that term ultra processed, because there is a lot of research with that group of foods, which means that they're foods that have been so pulled apart from their original form that they're not recognizable. So
what are some examples of that?
Yeah. So like if you're looking at a packaged food and you see, for example, hydrogenated oils on there, that would be a really good
Somebody
one.
write this down.
So that's like a red. So that's a red flag.
That's a red flag.
Okay.
The other really big one that you see a lot is high fructose corn syrup.
I feel
We
like
love that in America.
That's in everything.
That is like, it's in my water.
It is in everything, yeah. So those are like the two big ones that I would stay away from. And then it comes back to that really basic, like if you don't know what the ingredient is, you probably shouldn't be including it.
Okay. Makes sense. Again, breaking it down to like the simplest form is, do you understand it? If not, maybe do some research before you start eating it.
So we did get some messages the other day from people in our chat that wanted to gain weight for health reasons. So is Cook for Your Life a good resource for them for that?
Absolutely, yeah. So there's a section in the pull-down menu that lists health preferences or eating preferences. And one is high-calorie foods or high-protein foods. So
and these are going to be whole, and again, these are going to be whole foods. That's not, the example I keep using is a fruit roll-up, because I'm sure you could gain weight if you ate fruit roll-ups every day, but that's not the best way to do it. So these are going to be high-calorie, natural foods that grow in the ground or off of a tree.
Yeah. And so, like, if you're trying to gain weight, one of the best ways to do that is go to your real, like, high-fat foods, like avocados, olives, olive oil, things like that. because you get more calories in those.
It's interesting, though, because I think people, when they first hear someone say, oh, go to the high-fat foods, they start panicking.
Yeah.
But we're not talking about greasy, like,
Right.
you know, we're just talking about foods that have healthy fats in them, like an avocado, like you mentioned.
Yeah.
And I think we have to sometimes, like, reprogram our brains from what every commercial has been telling us since we were, like, 2 years old.
Yep. Yeah.
So there are some people, I just actually looked down and saw this question from the other day, and it kind of is perfect right here. There are a lot of people that said they hate vegetables. If I hate vegetables, how do I eat vegetables was basically the question. I don't know that you can answer that, but what do you do if you're someone that you know you need to eat vegetables, but you absolutely hate them?
Yeah. Actually, I love that question because I think it kind of goes to the root of what Cook for Your Life is trying to do, which is find foods that fit your palate. So if you don't like vegetables, maybe you grew up not eating them, or you grew up eating vegetables that were not prepared in a way that you like. Like I grew up with, what was it, like boiled Brussels sprouts, and I couldn't
thank you.
stand it. Yeah.
But now there's
The
Brussels sprouts are-
revitalization of Brussels sprouts has been...
whoever their PR team is.
Yeah. So-
Yeah. And so like with vegetables, for example, they are natural. A lot of them are naturally bitter. And that's if you're what we call a super taster, you don't like bitter foods. But if you add something that has like a natural fat to it, it actually helps to decrease that bitterness.
Do you have an example of that?
Yeah, like roasted Brussels sprouts.
Okay.
You put some oil on there instead of just steaming it, and then you cook it, and it actually helps to decrease that bitterness. Yeah.
I feel like oils specifically are something that I've seen on social media a lot. I've seen a lot of conversation about the types of oils you should or shouldn't have, and there's always contradicting posts about all of that.
Yeah.
How would you break that down as someone who's seen kind of the clinical side of how people can prepare food properly? Are there oils we should stay away from? Are they all the same?
Yeah, so great question. The oils, like the basic ones that you want to include would be like the extra virgin olive oil, and then some of the vegetable oils, preferably like unrefined, if you can find that. The ones you want to stay away from would be pretty refined oils, like just your standard vegetable oil.
Okay.
And why is that?
Which is
like,
what my mom definitely cooked with.
Oh, of course.
Growing up.
What does that do inside of, like, in our bodies? Why are we staying away from it?
Yeah. So oils in general can be pretty volatile, meaning that they can go rancid easily with exposure to light, heat, and air.
Okay.
Yeah.
Is that why my mom always put them in a little cabinet under, like, the sink? All of our oils were always in the dark.
Yeah. That's exactly what I ask people to do. Keep them in the dark.
To me.
Yeah.
Where do you keep your oil, Carla Marie?
No, I'm just saying I didn't know it did that. I just I don't leave it out in the sun. I just keep it in the cabinet, but I did not know that.
And I want to tell people, if they haven't checked out the Cook for Your Life website yet, you can hit ! And the word cook. You just type that into the chat and the website will come in. It really is such a simple, it's broken down so well. And the recipes that we're talking about aren't like weird foods you've never heard of. These are definitely foods that you're familiar with, and maybe just the proper way to prepare them. Yeah. So I think people think health foods or healthy foods, and they start to panic. But they're all things that taste great. You've definitely had them before, and it's just the proper way to prepare them.
Also, it's in the title, Cook for Your Life. It's not, that's the whole point of this. Yeah. You find something that works for you. As someone who loves sugary snacks, and I feel like I need to have a piece of chocolates every day at some point of my day.
Yeah.
How do you, I guess, control those cravings? Because cravings was a question a lot of people had, whether it was salty or sweet. How do you control that? And is one piece of chocolate every day bad?
Yeah. So no, it's not.
Okay. Good.
Like darker chocolate is obviously better. It is more bitter. But it does have more. It does have more health benefits in it. So I always tell people, like, if you want to have a square of dark chocolate every day, that's great.
Okay.
But there's so many great sweet foods that are also healthy.
Yes.
And I think Cook for Your Life has a lot of those, like, easy recipes to make up, even using things like dates instead of processed sugar.
I do love dates. I make these little energy ball things with dates, and they're so good.
Perfect.
What else is in the energy balls?
Oatmeal? Oh, I haven't made it. I don't
Let's
know.
break it
I'm
down.
going to give my recipe.
I think you should
What?
break it
I don't
down.
work
And we should
for
see
Cook
if,
for Your Life. I don't
we
know
should
the
see
recipes.
we should see if it passes
I know,
the Cook for
actually.
Your Life test.
I'll have to send that to Gretchen and be like, is this?
Yeah, please
Good.
do.
And we talked about the Cook for Your Life collaboration with Fred Hutch, which is a cancer center.
Yes.
And a lot of the things that we've talked about so far have been what to do if you are a cancer patient, if you're battling cancer. But this is also stuff you can use if you're trying to prevent cancer, which obviously there's thousands of types of cancer. It's not going to prevent every single thing. But what are maybe 2 or 3 things people can do regarding their diet now to maybe hopefully prevent cancer down the road?
Yeah. And I will point out that like Fred Hutch, the research is not just involved in like for people who have cancer currently, but it is also they're doing research for cancer prevention and also prevention of recurrence, so survivorship. So there's a lot of stuff out there. 2 or 3 things that people can do to help their health now. Number 1 is get lots of fiber in.
Ooh.
So what are fiber-rich foods?
Yeah, all of your plant foods have fiber in them.
So back to the vegetables.
Yeah.
Sorry, veggie haters.
No, there's great things you can do. So vegetables, fruits, whole grains, beans and legumes like lentils and beans have the highest amount of fiber in them per serving. It's crazy. And then what else am I nuts and seeds.
Okay.
Also have great fiber in them. Yeah.
So step 1 is adding some of those, getting your fiber in.
Don't start.
And what is like a regular amount of fiber?
Yeah.
Is it dependent on your weight? Is it dependent on your diet?
So the recommendation is that everyone get at least 30 grams a day in.
Okay. And that's across the board?
Across the board. In some countries, they get a lot more than that. In this country, the average person is estimated to get like 10 grams or less.
Oh, wow. Now, have there been
We're so bad
correlations?
at
I'm
everything.
sure that on the clinical side, you've probably had research that says this. Are the countries that get higher fiber naturally, do they have lower occurrences of disease in general than we do here in America?
Probably some cancers, in general,
Right,
We
so
just
30
got
grams.
a message, and this is official. It's Guppy from Fred Hutch. So I saw the message, and I was like, I don't know if this is real. Maybe no one listened to it, but it was him.
Trusted source.
He said popcorn is a great source of fiber.
Popcorn does have fiber. Yes.
Okay, so there we go.
Probably not like movie theater popcorn with all the.
I mean, it probably
still
has it,
yeah.
but you're getting
a lot of other stuff on there too.
yes.
Yeah, but there's a lot of great ways to make popcorn.
Yeah.
So.
Okay, so fiber is good
30
for
grams
cancer
is what we're looking
prevention.
30 grams or
What
more.
else we got?
The other one I would say is there's a whole group of nutrients called phytonutrients out there.
Okay.
And
PHY, right?
Yeah,
okay.
phyto meaning plant, so PHYTO, and those. It sounds like a marketing thing, but that's why we say eat the rainbow.
Okay. And
and
what does that entail?
Yeah, so
like
that
a fruit
means
roll up? Those are a lot of colors.
No.
So that means getting in. There's like 6 color groups I usually talk about, and so that would be like the blues, purples, the reds, the oranges, the yellows, the greens, the white tans.
That's why our studio wall is this color.
Look at that. Would you look at that?
Okay.
And so the goal is to get in at least one food from each of those color groups every single day.
Every day.
And
What's a blue?
it's
What's a
not that
blue
hard.
food?
Blueberries.
Oh, duh. They're really
blackberries.
purple.
Wait,
There you go.
I got mine here.
Blue purple gets grouped together.
Okay.
But it gives you sort of a greater amount of those phytonutrients. And a lot of research is around for health in general, just chronic disease in general, is around phytonutrients.
So one natural whole food that represents each color of the rainbow.
Yes.
Okay.
It's actually a really great place. Both of those, fiber. Okay, I know things that are high in fiber. I can eat this, and then starting with the rainbow, and we all know the rainbow looks like. We all can figure that out.
I feel like that's
great.
Sorry.
I was gonna say it's a great starting point.
I feel like that's a good thing to do with kids too, to start them young. Is you make it fun and you try to say, all right, let's try to get one color. You make almost like a scavenger hunt.
Kids, I'm more concerned about me. This is the same thing.
Same thing.
Say I'm just gonna go to the grocery store and just start picking out.
So that was
color.
2, right? That was eat vegetables, fruits, plants in general.
And fiber.
Taste the rainbow, if you will, but not Skittles. And
Anything else?
was there anything else?
Well, there was one other thing I was going to mention with
gonna say
phytonutrients is that we did we send over a a photo,
Oh,
a slide
yes,
that
I will grab that.
has those, and that is actually on our
Thank you.
website. So if people are like, what foods can I eat in these color groups? Like they can actually pull that up.
All right. I will find that as
Okay.
Carla Marie does the next.
I know we have a
next
lot.
question.
Yeah, we have.
Oh,
any
do you
new-
want me to? I was going to hit number 3.
Oh, yes, that's important.
And that
Number
was
3.
actually, that was actually not a food thing, but it was just,
Ooh.
I was just going to say, like right now, with our Cook for Your Life, we have a healthy challenge, a January challenge,
Ooh.
and that is SMART goals.
Okay, so what are
And-
SMART goals?
Yeah. So specific, measurable. Oh, he has the colors up there. Yeah.
Here we go.
Specific, measurable, attainable, and I'm
They say,
yeah.
okay, I get
So yeah, and so it's and so it's something that I think that when we go into January and we're like, okay, I'm gonna have a New Year's resolution,
But what about, yeah.
but it's asking people to break those down. So if you say, okay, I'm going to eat more vegetables, or I'm going to start eating 30 grams of fiber a day, like go into it slowly. So it's something
Yes.
you can hold on to and build on.
And are those SMART goals, that challenge? Is that at Cook for Your Life?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Good.
If you go to like our
Oh.
Instagram, you can pull up the full thing.
And we're going to lose you on the screen for a second. Everyone
But
will still be
everyone
able to
hear
hear
you.
you. But this is what we were talking about before. Here we go. So you have like the reds, and that gives you all the examples there. Oranges, yellows. And this
Oh,
is
yeah,
this
so
is such a
it's
great
actually-
resource.
Oh, this is awesome.
The greens are probably the easiest one for people to figure out.
Yeah.
And then here's your blues and purples. I didn't realize there were that many options for blues and
Yeah,
purples.
seriously.
I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah. You can eat a purple potato.
White and tan. There you go.
That's awesome.
Again, all you have to do, and if you're in the chat live right now, is exclamation point and the word cook, and you'll find all of these on
you
the
put-
website.
You put that exact link in there?
I could.
Just in
I can
case?
just copy that, and then I can go down to here,
I think someone else might have already, but just in case.
and I can paste that right there. Perfect.
Okay.
All
Go
right,
back to this.
back to our regular screen.
That is great to see it like that. I think I'm going to print those. My favorite thing to do is print things like that and put it inside of my cabinets
Yeah.
so that they're not all over
Yeah.
my refrigerator, but then they're in a place where I'm going to be going to get food, and I can actually see, okay, I should be eating something red, blue, whatever it is, and put it in the inside. So, pro tip, do that.
And another thing about phytonutrients is that it also includes spices,
Oh,
which is kind of fun. Yeah.
So as long as you're adding like the proper spices, that also counts. That's pretty cool. I wouldn't have even
Yeah.
thought of that.
nope.
Yeah.
Never. Which is great for people that don't like vegetables and you need to add spices to it. You know, you can do it, the right way.
You know,
Yeah.
there's the thing that you mentioned, Carla Marie, about printing things out, putting them
Yes.
in a place where you're going to find them easily. I think a lot of getting people into healthy habits is also not just the hardcore information, but getting people the tricks and the tips to get people to involve it easily into their lives or implement it into their lives. Are there certain tricks and tips that you give
Ooh.
to people or that you would suggest? Like something like what Carla Marie does, where you're printing things out? Or is there a way for people to make this an easier process
Yeah.
for them?
That's a really good question. And that's that's the big challenge that everyone has,
Everyone's
right?
different.
It's like we know what to do, we don't know how to do it.
Yeah.
One of the things I've started telling people is make one new recipe a week or make one new recipe every other week to expose you to new flavors and
That's a
get
good
really
challenge.
get really used to like how to cook it. So you're not trying to take on a bunch of new recipes at one time.
Yeah, I think that's really important because then you're also buying a lot of new ingredients sometimes, and not
Yeah.
obviously the vegetables, but if there's something else you need to put in there more, then you're buying all this new stuff. Then you have this cabinet full of random things that you've used once in a recipe. This way, like you're saying, kind of get good at one new recipe over a 2-week period, then try something new.
Yeah.
And
Love
I also
that.
like the idea of you might have all these goals, right? You might have this one big goal at the end of the end of your year, whatever you're trying to build to, but it's finding the steps to get there and tackling
Yes.
each of those individually. Like people always ask me for different health tips, and my first reaction is always, well, how much water are you drinking?
Yeah. That's a good
Right,
one.
because if you're not going to drink the right amount of water per day, which is the easiest step I think in my mind, then don't worry about dissecting every ingredient and everything that you buy at the supermarket. Like, start with your basics. And are there basic steps that you would also suggest, whether it's water or anything else?
Water is a great one, or fluids in general.
Yes.
Okay.
Some people really don't like the flavor of water, and just like especially cancer patients, they could have their taste changes quite a bit.
Mm-hmm.
And so, do things to alter the taste, like even squeezing some lemon in there, or putting cucumber in it, or something like some kind of infused water, or, have some herbal tea, something like that. But staying hydrated is super important. That's a great one to start with.
This was actually a great question from the other day when we were on Twitch, was at what point does the beverage not count as water? Right? Like, at what point are you putting so much into a beverage that, like, it doesn't really count for your water or beverage intake?
So I was saying seltzers will say no guilt or innocent. For some reason, I think it's LaCroix says, like, innocent drink. I'm like, that is such a weird
it hasn't,
thing to put on there.
Has not murdered anyone
but
yet.
Is it, I'm not going to have 100 ounces of LaCroix a day, but are things like that okay?
In general, that's fine.
Okay.
Yeah. We actually we have looser recommendations around coffee and tea too.
Okay.
Yeah.
So coffee, tea, water, not LaCroix specifically, but seltzers in general, those would all count towards your beverage goal for the day.
Yeah. Although I'm not talking about like a big blended coffee with a lot of other things in it.
That's very great point
Yeah.
to go with the whole list to Starbucks of everything. No, we're talking about just coffee. I keep seeing it's either a meme or a video of a joke of how in the 70s people just didn't drink water, and it's our parents' generation kind of making fun of us for having our Stanley. I remember when I was even younger, my dad would be like, "How do you not go anywhere without a bottle of water?" He goes, "I didn't drink water until I turned like 60." And so there's this, obviously that generation thinks it's hilarious that we're all drinking water, but also it's important and we just maybe didn't know about it, which is so insane because it's free. It's crazy. And now that's our main, we just said, okay, are you starting with water? And I think just the importance of it, I know it's crazy. I just wanted to bring that up because I keep seeing it, how people didn't drink water and now we're walking around with 40 ounces.
Well, we were talking, one of your relatives recently, and you asked them how much water they drink. And they said, I don't know, half a bottle of
Poland Spring a day.
Which is like nothing when you consider what you're supposed to have. And what is a regular, for water specific or beverages specifically, what's like a goal the average person should hit?
Yeah. I think the national goal is something like 9 cups a day for women and 13 cups a day for men, something like that.
Okay.
So it's a little over 2 liters for women, depending on how you think about that. And for men, it's closer to like 3 liters. 2 to 3 liters is pretty standard.
And you mentioned maybe don't count like the blended sugary drinks as your beverage intake. But, one of the things I think a lot of people have done in January specifically, because people are trying to get healthy for the new year, right, is everyone starts making smoothies for themselves. And I know you guys have smoothie and blended drink recipes on cookforyourlife.com.
Yeah.
But also I think a lot of people start putting way too much in those things.
Yeah.
How should the average person know where that threshold is? Like, what if you're putting 12 apples in one shake? That doesn't it seems like too many apples.
Yeah. I mean, it's, that's a hard one. Like it's, like how many calories do you want in there? How much carbohydrate? How much fiber do you want? If you put in 12 apples, that's a lot of fiber.
But I feel like people are just thinking of flavor when they're making their smoothies.
Yes.
That's how I used to be until I think it was Anthony one day. He's like, but you wouldn't normally eat 2 bananas and a cup of blueberries sitting here. And I was like, you're right.
Yeah.
You're right.
Yeah.
So.
And that's actually, that's one of the ways I present it to people is like, how much could you eat at a sitting? And I do want to go back and say that like with fluids, like those drinks, even those sugary drinks count as fluid. It's just, you've got to count everything else in there.
Facts.
That makes sense. Yeah. You're getting a lot of other things in with those.
Look,
fluids.
I did my water intake today. Also sugar for the week in one drink. Yeah, you gotta count that. So with the Cook for Your Life website, what are some, when people go to that website, what is the first thing they should be doing today? Because a lot of people for the first time just found out about this website. What is the first thing they should use the website for?
Well, there's three different main things I like to point out on the website. There's the recipes that we've talked about. There's also a lot of instructional videos for people who want to learn more about cooking.
That's awesome.
It's a great resource, yeah. And I cook a lot, but I'll still go into those videos sometime and just watch how Anne or someone like that has prepared a food. It's interesting. It's interesting to learn like the proper way to cut some foods.
Yeah, I don't know how to do any of that
It
stuff.
is. It's like I've been doing this wrong my whole life. Yeah.
No, I was preparing everything, obviously, for you to come in today on the website, and I ended up on there for like an hour yesterday, just learning all the things I never knew. Because I'm not someone, as much as I do care about my health and everything, I hate cooking. No offense,
really?
but I hate cooking.
Yeah.
And I think the fact that you have, recipes with 5 ingredients or less, like that speaks to me. Because I'm not going to be the person that has a full cupboard of all the different spices and oils you need. But if there's 5 ingredients or less, that's something that I know I can do.
Yeah.
And I love that there are resources for almost every single type of person on that website. And again, !cook if you are live on Twitch right now. And if you're on YouTube, it'll be in the description of this video.
Okay, there was a third thing for the website.
Yes. It's just we have a lot of articles in there which answers some of the questions that people might have of like fad diets or common questions around cancer and nutrition. We try to address those with our articles. We try to review current pieces of research on there.
That's great.
So it is a good resource for some of those.
And it's
people.
constantly being updated. It's not just like, here's our website and boom, it's done. It's like you just said, as new research comes out, this should be one of those first places to go, as we all ask. How do we know if this is legit? This is a great resource, cookforyourlife.com. Yes. Make sure I said it right. It's .org. .org? See? I knew I said it wrong.
There is
a great place, to start.
There is one question I have left, and this is kind of a very broad, I'm assuming a broad answer, but we've talked a lot about how to eat, what you should be looking for, how it can, what you should be doing, especially if you're dealing with cancer in the moment. But how does your diet actually impact cancer prevention? Like, what am I doing on a daily basis that could or could not lead me down the road towards cancer or away from cancer?
Yeah.
I know it's kind of a open-ended question there, but
we actually do have a good article and resource on the website for that, but I can go over that really quickly. It comes from there's a resource called the Expert Report, which is from the American Institute for Cancer Research and the World Cancer Research Fund, and they put together a summary. It comes out about every 10 years on research related to diet and lifestyle and cancer prevention. And then they have like a top 10 list of things to do. And so we have sort of a variation of that online.
That's great.
But it's things like the number one thing is sort of staying in a healthy weight. The second one is exercise. Getting in exercise is super important. I know we're talking about food, but it all fits together.
Oh yeah.
They're all pieces to the same puzzle. Right?
Yes, absolutely.
And I think weight is such an interesting thing because it's something that people have been shamed into feeling they need to be a specific weight. But I think really what it comes down to is talking to your doctor and figuring out what's healthy for your body type and lifestyle and all of that.
Completely agree.
Right? Like not everyone has to be 110 pounds and 6 feet tall and walking down a runway.
Yeah.
It's probably not very healthy,
That's not what
honestly.
Instagram says. Instagram tells me otherwise. Gretchen, thank you for being here with us today. This is I'm going to go back and watch our own show today because I feel like I didn't take enough notes or any notes, but I want to take notes because this has really been great. So thank you for being here. To the whole Fred Hutch team, Jackie, who's actually sitting right here off camera, helped facilitate this. We started this conversation, I think, back in October.
Oh, wow.
All thanks to Alona, who I work out with at Orange Theory, who works at Fred Hutch, and she knew that we had a Twitch stream, and she was like, actually, I have a great idea. We should work together. So
this has been great.
Yeah, this is really cool. Hopefully the beginning of doing many more things like this and not just having silly shows, but also educational show so we can all work together and be healthy.
Yeah, if we didn't scare you off, you're more than welcome to come back whenever you want.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. This has been great. This is wonderful.
All right, and if you have any questions later on, you can either email us, hello@carlamarineanthony.com. Don't forget, cookforyourlife.org. And if you're watching on YouTube, drop some questions in the description or in the comments, and we can get to those maybe at a later date. Later.